So I've been seeing a lot of discourse on the YouTubes and the Reddits on tuners and Wuthering Waves, and I wanted to give my thoughts on the subject. This isn't exactly a guide or anything, just more of an analysis and or tinfoil hat conspiracy theory on why tuners are the way that they are. I should also mention that I have no affiliation with Kuro. This is just me assuming things about their thinking and putting words in their mouth, thoughts in their brain. Background footages of me failing at beating the Tempest Mephis and his boyfriend. Anyways, this is your trigger warning. I will be mentioning Genshin Impact, as my analysis stems from comparing the systems between the two games, specifically artifacts and echoes, with the knowledge that Kuro Game wanted to make their new game easy to understand for Genshin refugees such as myself. So, on to the Genshin info. Let's get this out real quick. If you're lucky enough to have never played the game, Genshin Impact has this artifact system that is the basis for how echoes operate in Wuthering Waves. The core innovation that Wuthering Waves adds to the system is that you can farm echoes without spending any stamina or wave plates or resin, whatever you want to call it, just by killing enemies in the overworld. That way you can just get as many on-set echoes with the desired main stat as your sanity will allow you to. Personally, I really like this system. It feels great so far 1 weekend. I don't know, maybe I'll get bored of it a couple months. But for now, it's actually making me want to fight enemies because they could drop fun things that give my brain a nice little hit of dopamine. In Genshin, artifacts drop from instanced domains that require stamina to clear. You're at the mercy of RNGesus for when an artifact candidate might show up. And if you're unlucky, it can take weeks of resin to get a single on-set correct main stat goblet for your new character, which will then, of course, proceed to roll 5 times in the flat defense and make you wish you were playing Persona 3. However, all your expended resources are not completely wasted. If you recycle your dog roll artifact into a new one that hasn't disappointed you yet, you'll still have 80% of the experience transfer over to your certain to be a god roll one. This number is really significant because it differs from Wuthering Waves. In Wuwa, only 75% of the Echo's experience transfers to the new one, and it was realizing this one difference that made it all click in my head. Surprising no one here, Wuwa directly copies many ideas from Genshin Impact. Kuro does this for a couple reasons. One, it makes the game an easier sell for Genshin refugees. There's not as many new systems you have to learn, so many things are directly comparable. Secondly, they make the rewards directly comparable between the two games. Kuro wants you to see that they're giving out more rewards in Hoyoverse. But directly copying numbers like this also aids the development of the game's systems themselves. I don't really know what's going on behind closed doors at Kuro, but I guarantee you that the first thing the devs did when testing any new progression system was load up Genshin's numbers and see how it felt before tweaking them to better suit Wuwa. It's just what you do. Those numbers worked for Hoyo, so let's see what they look like in our game as a baseline. It makes perfect sense. So in a game that copies so many numbers from Genshin, from poll conversion rates to battle or monthly pass rewards, the differences are significant when they appear. If Kuro wants to appear more generous than Hoyoverse, why have a reduced experience transfer between Echoes? Because they almost certainly tested Genshin's numbers. So why 75% instead of 80? If you think they never tested it at 80, I have a bridge to an investment opportunity for you. Most likely, Kuro found that 80% experience transfer between Echoes led to it being too easy to keep rolling for more substats. Again, remember Wuwa does not force you to wait days to weeks to get lucky on that main stat. I believe this is also the reason why tuners are required to unlock substats in Wuwa. In testing, they likely found that players would just grind out a ton of echoes with preferred main stats, chuck a tiny amount of XP at them to see the first roll or two, and either move on or recycle a more leveled echo into it. So, a new bottleneck had to be added to prevent late game players from constantly recycling their old echoes into new ones. Hence the addition of tuners, and why their costs scale linearly per substat unlock rather than geometrically like echo levels. Right now, a weekend, we're all starved for echo experience, but in a few months the limiting factor will be tuners, as the return from recycling is much lower, and unlocking the first substat on a plus 5 echo is just as expensive as the final substat on a plus 25 echo that costs tons of wave plates to level. So, yeah, that's my rambly tinfoil hat theory on why tuners were added to the game. and what will stop us from being too picky with our artifacts in a few months. Until then, I hope you're enjoying this game as much as I am, and have a great day. Oh, hold on, Tempest Memphis. I gotta take this. Yellow. Yeah, skip the story.